It's time for AggroChat, the official podcast of the Tales of the Aggronaut blog and stalwart gaming community, where we talk about stuff and things, and the stuff about the things, and sometimes gaming. I'm Belghast, and let's start the show. Hey folks, it's that time again. Time for another episode of AggroChat. This is episode 439. Tonight I'm joined by Emmo.
Hello.
Ashgar.
Hello.
Grace.
Hello.
Tam.
Hello.
And Thalen.
Hello.
I guess without Kodra, we do vanilla intros.
I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
We had a Nintendo Direct this week. It was pretty good. It had a bunch of interesting stuff.
Mario RPG. There's
It
a bunch of other
seems
stuff
like
too,
that,
but Super
right?
Mario RPG. We're actually getting a remake of it, not just like a re-release, like remaster.
I'm really interested in a brand new 2D Mario game.
That too looks. I guess the new power up is elephant,
Yes, and
Wow.
Mastodon has gone nuts about that.
and there's flowers all through that yell at you. I don't know.
Screamy Flowers. Sequel to Detective Pikachu?
Star Ocean 2.
Oh, yeah, Star Ocean 2R. I'm very excited about that one.
So is that a remake of the PlayStation title?
It looks like it. Yep, that was the PlayStation one or PS1 one.
Yeah.
Second Evolution was a cleaned up version that they put on the PSP, but
In
also
Japan.
it came out here, but they didn't bring it to the PS4 here, unlike they did with Star Ocean 1R.
Yeah, new First Departure came out digitally, but I didn't know. Did it just not release digitally?
I believe it was cart only for the PSP.
That's annoying.
Yeah, because it's pretty expensive now.
Yet another one of the 3 million farm games.
I kind of have lost track of those.
There's a lot of them now. I think of all the things that looked the most interesting to me, it was the Princess Peach solo game.
It was so
The
weird.
one they
that
didn't say anything about?
Right. Yeah. I'm guessing the whole stage thing is how she gets power-ups, maybe?
It's
Who
so
the hell
weird
even
to
know?
me that this is being flouted as like it's the first Princess Peach game, because I played.
They didn't
Super
say the
Princess
first.
Peach.
No.
They didn't say it was the first one.
Yeah, because it's not. It's the first one in about 20 years, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the other thing that's weird is as I've looked at more information about what is it, Wonderful? The 2D game, it seems to have a really wide cast of characters. Because I've seen gameplay of Daisy.
Yep, Daisy's playable.
I'm curious how deep the stable of playable characters goes.
Yeah.
It really makes me wonder because New Super Mario Brothers Wii, New Super Mario Brothers U, that one has 5 playable characters.
Hmm.
Well, I guess 6 if you include Nev in the remake. And it feels like there could be more.
Yeah,
Like
Yeah.
we're going full Sonic over here or something.
I'm okay with that. I saw footage of Amy playing through Green Hill Zone. That was weird.
I mean, speaking of, yeah, there's a new 2D Sonic game on the way. I am curious about it. It looks like it's being designed in sort of the style of old Sonic games rather than the style of like the 3D Sonic games.
Yeah, it looks more like the Generations.
Yeah, it looks like the old half of Generations.
Yep. I'm on board with this. I like that.
A lot of people did. I mean, a lot of people did, which is why we got Sonic 4 as basically the next game they made.
Yep. So the Vampire Survivors is coming to the Switch.
And getting co-op,
Yep. Couch co-op.
Yeah.
Vampire Survivors co-op.
That's a
Yeah.
weird thing to have in that game.
It sounds ludicrous, but yeah.
But entertaining.
Absolutely.
It's the fun end of madness. I still think Persona 5 Tactical looks interesting. And this was the first time we've seen it, but I like the Q art style.
Yeah, it's a very neat art style. Plus, I'm curious to see how it works with the whole tactical thing. I'm definitely down to try it.
I'm also intrigued that Dragon Quest Monsters is getting a game here.
Yeah, that's not a series I am familiar with.
It's not a new, it's very old series. The first 2 games were on the Game Boy Color, and those came out here. And then the first 2 DS games came out here, and then they stopped translating them. So we haven't had a game since like 2011. But I thought series was dead, but apparently it's just been going in Japan the whole time.
I thought it was
Is-
interesting that they shadow dropped Pikmin 1 and 2. I've never played a Pikmin game.
Oh, they're a delight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
like
love them.
Yeah, I mean, the overlap between I'm playing a Pikmin game and I'm playing a ARPG Necro is
Very similar.
really high. Like your verbs are a bit different, but the feel is similar.
I mean,
Yeah,
I really
but they're
loved
also kinda
Overlord,
not
which
that
is basically the
different.
same game, right?
The thing is, I remember Pikmin 1 being very difficult.
Pikmin 1, if I remember Pikmin 1 right, Pikmin 1 was like all of the times were like 20 to 25% too tight.
Yes.
Because you didn't get to like enjoy it and have fun. You were like rushing.
Pikmin, you have 30 days to get 30 parts. You don't need 30 parts to beat the game. But like all the timers are very short.
What
I
system
actually
was it
never played
originally
2.
out
I
on?
did play 3. And I think 3 is out on the Switch now, if I remember correctly.
Was this a Wii era thing?
I think it was GameCube.
No, GameCube. The first 2 were GameCube.
Okay.
The third was Wii U. So there was a bit of gap there.
That probably also explains why I didn't play it, because I did not play a lot of GameCube stuff.
But 3 is on the Switch already, and you do not need to have played 1 or 2 to play 3, and it's a much easier intro to the series, quite frankly. So while it's interesting that they're shadow dropping 1 and 2, you can already play the best one on the Switch.
No Metroid Prime 4 news.
Nope.
Yeah, I think that's in development hell.
No Metroid Prime 4, no Silk Song.
But do we think
Although this
Silk
was entirely
Song's
first party, so
yeah, like, do we think Silk
Yeah.
Song's going to be announced at a Nintendo Direct?
probably not. I mean, the console release was shadow dropped in Nintendo Direct. Like when it came out on Switch, it was just, hey, it's out today in a random Nintendo Direct. But no, the full release is probably not going to be there.
Hell, I wouldn't be surprised if it's been out on or Epic Games Store for months and none of us knew about it.
I would know about it.
I know you would.
It's the point where people are playing a randomizer where they're randomizing every blade of grass in the game. The weight has driven people crazy.
Yeah, they're really getting their money's worth.
That wasn't hyperbole.
Also, Final Fantasy XVI came out this week. I have not had a chance to touch it, but I have heard good things.
I am very much enjoying it. We talked a
Same.
bit about the demo last week, maybe 2 weeks ago. I don't actually remember
Maybe.
now.
I don't know if we actually talked about it.
I don't think we did.
We didn't talk about it. Demo's very good, and it's a Square style demo where it's just the start of the game. So if you are at all interested in the game and you have a PlayStation 5, give it a shot. Then when you know whether or not you want to buy it before spending the money.
Mhm.
They were worried for some reason that the pre-orders were lower than expected or something like that. So
I mean,
everyone seems to be talking about it. So,
I didn't pre-order it until I played the demo.
I legitimately so ever since FF15, it's been confusing to figure out what Final Fantasy games are happening.
Mhm.
Like they've got the Final Fantasy brand identity, but like the Final Fantasy brand identity is not so pristine that I'm gonna just like buy anything day and date regardless. And so like I don't know anything about this game because I have no idea. Like it looks so much like Angry Guy Final Fantasy, like just from screenshots I've seen, that I did not realize it was a separate game.
It looks a little too much like Stranger Paradise.
right, like
Yeah.
there's a person in the game that looks exactly like the dude from Stranger of Paradise.
Like I finally watched a trailer and I was like, oh, this is a completely different game.
All I really know about this game is Creative Business Unit 3.
They really need to come up with a better name for themselves.
Yeah.
But I will say, the signs of Final Fantasy, people who worked on Final Fantasy XIV made this, is just apparent
Mhm.
all throughout like the start of that game. Like not entirely as much during the demo, but as soon as you get past that, like, oh, it was you guys.
I mean, that had me hopeful. And then the guy that did the review for the game for NPR, who reviewed it very, very well, also recently did a top 10 of like in his opinion, the 10 best Final Fantasy games, and the top 2 were 6 and 4, and I think number 4 was 9. So I suspect that I'm going to want to like this game.
Yeah, like Yoshi P seems to really like the Final Fantasy games that I liked growing up, so
Yeah.
just based on the content that we see weave its way into 14.
I mean, I think he said his favorite game is 3, and I don't think 3 is all that great.
I've never played 3.
I mean,
The Pixel remaster is
Okay.
fine. Don't play the 3D remake.
Yeah.
So you know that there's the stop doing math meme, and there's the variant of that that's stop doing RPG mechanics meme, and that's like solidly half of Yoshi P's game development ethos. And I feel like, I mean, I don't know if that shows through at FF16, but it sure shows through at everything else he touches. And I think it's really interesting to see that happening, because in some ways, like, I don't disagree. I've heard that the combat is great, the story is fine-ish, and the RPG mechanics are basically non-existent. And like, that seems okay. Not everything needs to have a skill tree.
You do have abilities that you can upgrade, but like, nah.
Yeah, like progression is useful.
But it can just
Yeah.
be like, you leveled up, you unlock a cool new ability.
Yeah.
Go beat people up with it.
You earn AP, you can spend it on abilities. You can refund those abilities at any time. So whatever. Mess
I mean,
around with your fun aerial attacks, because we totally hired your designer from Devil May Cry.
Oh
I-
boy,
That
they
shows
are
too.
fun. Oh yes. Oh yes.
I'm looking forward to the inevitable DLC featuring Dante.
I mean, I absolutely had an argument with a systems designer recently that you could do a perfectly great RPG and only ever put the numbers 0, 50, and 100 in front of a percentage anywhere in the entire game, possibly 200. And they made them very mad. But like, I stand by it.
I mean,
I buy that.
Ravage exists. That's a game that exists already. It's quite
Right.
good.
Yeah. Yeah, like I say it from a position of I've seen a game that's good that did that. But yeah, I'm it's on my list and I want to try it, but I have not had time.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a story of this past week.
so
I'm very much looking forward to playing more of it.
yeah, same. I have officially installed it at this point.
I have almost squeezed every drop of juice out of I Was a Teenage Exocolonist. Closing in about halfway through playthrough 7.
Wow.
It's a good game, and like I think, but I can see where I've reached the end, and yeah, I'm gonna try to. I might hop to FF16 after that.
So there's been a weird bit of drama this week that totally makes sense, but that I did not expect. So Final Fantasy, or not Final Fantasy 14, Diablo 4 had Yoshi on the brain all of a sudden.
Slightly different games.
Yeah.
Diablo 4 has had a pretty broad reach. It has sold extremely well, and it has brought in a lot of people that either didn't really play Diablo or only ever played Diablo at a very surface level. And as a result, the way seasons work in ARPGs is a total blank spot to large swaths of people. And Blizzard is trying to hype people up for the beginning of season 1. And folks are just like, nope, I do not want to level my character. What, you mean I'm not going to get to experience any of this content without creating a new character?
Yeah, it's not exactly the same. It's kind of like, you've played World of Warcraft. We're about to come out with Burning Crusade. If you want to play any of the new story in Burning Crusade, you need to level up a new character.
Yes. And like, this has been a thing that I've talked about, that one of my biggest concerns about the way seasons will work in this game is just the sheer amount of excessive busy work that you have to do in leveling a character that is absolutely required. If you do not get 160 Lilith statues, you will be at a significant statistical disadvantage. If you did not farm renown to tier 5 in every single zone, you're just going to be missing 10 talent points and 20 paragon points.
Yikes.
So
Yeesh.
I'm a little over 100 hours into the game, and like this weekend I reached the true end game only because Syl basically said, "Hey, we're going to do this thing." And I said, "Okay." And we suffered through the capstone dungeon that took us to tier 4. But like I've just now reached the true end game at 100 hours, and like that seems like an excessive amount of time for leveling characters to get to the content.
Could be.
I mean, because like what? A D3 character is maybe 3-4 hours if you're not getting pulled up by someone. PoE characters 5 hours, 6 hours to get to maps. Like, so
Not the first time.
I mean,
not
yeah,
the
it
first
depends
time, but
depends
like,
on how well you know the game. But there's not a lot of there's a pretty direct path that you can
Yeah,
take. Once you
for
know
me
it.
now, I can get there in 4 or 5 hours, something like that. And like the speedrunners, I think do it in 3, maybe less.
I mean, probably, but they're insane.
Yeah, there was some. I think Jungroan got to like 2 void stones in like 5 hours.
Yeah, that's insane.
But yeah, I do feel like if you reasonably want people to make a whole new character for each new season, like the time to get that character to max to max level and actually engaging with everything needs to be single digit hours.
Yeah, like, I mean, I would think basically within the first week, you should be there.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
The point of seasons is not to grind through a miserable leveling experience again.
It's to see the new stuff and maybe play a different build, play with like any changes in set designs or anything like that.
Yeah, it's an excuse to play with new stuff, and it's an excuse maybe to play with friends who are, have renewed interest because there's new stuff going on.
Well, and one of the things that I've always liked about ARPG seasons as opposed to like Destiny seasons is you can totally just ignore multiple seasons in a row. And so long as you show up at the beginning of a new season, you're on square one with everyone else.
Yeah, it's a fresh start.
Whereas like Destiny, how much catch up do I have to do to just be able to like do the new content? I don't know.
It's also nice, like, even if I usually main a demon hunter in D3, some seasons I feel like doing something different, and it's fine. And it doesn't matter that I have a ridiculously maxed out demon hunter on non-seasonal mode, because nobody cares about that. Like, everything is fresh.
Yeah, like I think I looked the other day and I have something like 100 billion gold on non-seasonal on Diablo 3. I don't have a mirror yet in non-seasonal currency on PoE, but at some point I will, I'm sure, because my non-seasonal stuff just goes into a vault to rot. But yeah, like, so it started this whole debate as to should Diablo 4 seasons work like the rest of the ARPG seasons, and like I'm kind of on the side of maybe no. If this is the way that the game is balanced to require this kind of an outlay, then maybe you shouldn't have people throw it away.
Yeah, I mean, it's a sticking point, and like there's this sort of like play like design mentality that's like, hey, are you making points in the game where people say, all right, time for me to quit? Because if you are, like, that's when people quit.
Yep.
And hey, in order to get back into this, you've got to make a completely new character is kind of that.
There's a lot of those moments though in D4 because like the difference there's a break at level 50 and there's a break at level 70, or once you can get to World Tier 3 and World Tier 4, where passing that line means nothing that you did before then matters at all. Like you are better off just to pick up random trash on the ground because nothing that you have done to that point in the game, for the first 50 levels of the game matters at all. And that feels weird. And it's to some extent expected, but like it still feels weird. And they like supposedly the intent for the game is to push people into nightmare dungeons. And when I moved to World Tier 4, basically every nightmare dungeon key that I had was immediately invalidated and I can no longer run them on World Tier 4 without downgrading to World Tier 3. So that felt weird. I don't know. Like I am interested to see what the game looks like in a year, but I think it's not going to look anything like it does currently. I guess while I am talking about drama, there's been a certain amount of drama surrounding the Lord of the Rings Magic the Gathering set. So, like, right now, there's a whole bunch of products that sound really similar on the market, and only one of which can contain
The
the
jackpot.
jackpot. Yeah,
Mhm.
that Post Malone has said he would pay $2 million for.
Jeez.
Wow. So it's doubled the bounty.
Yeah, it has. The bounty has
Man.
doubled since the last time we talked about it. But like, there's a bunch of purposefully confusing products. So like, there's a bunch of bundles and there's a bunch of commander decks that say they have a collector's booster, but it's a like collector booster sample pack, not the one that has the item in it. Also, like, they have released all the collector booster boxes, but there's a bunch of people assuming that the One of One Ring isn't going to be in any of those because they are holding back another product to be released later that is the bundle gift box.
Jeez.
So like, there's a bunch of us like there's a bunch of controversy surrounding that. Everybody thinks that they held it back for that product release just so nobody would get it on the first day and leave them with a bunch of $500 product that they can't sell.
Mhm.
But it's now like made the pre-orders of this stupid bundle box that has like, it's just what, 9 packs plus a collector's booster is now pre-ordering for $300 a piece.
Good God.
Yeah, no, people have just lost their freaking mind. And a bunch of fake ones are flooding the market.
Saw that coming.
It's like, no, nobody could have predicted that. So yeah, it's just silly. Okay. Warhammer 40k 10th edition and the seismic lore shift.
Yeah. So I talked like 2 years ago now that 40k updated their edition and brought back a Primarch.
Mhm.
And like, the super flash background on this is that the Primarchs are these characters that have been written about since what, the 80s,
Yep.
Yeah.
that have never appeared. Like, they're all historic characters. They've never appeared in the game ever.
Yeah.
Um,
They're like almost unto deities.
Well, that's not entirely true because there have been models of Primarchs before, but they have been rather unimpressive models.
yeah.
Like, there was a Lehman Russ, and it was not a good model.
And it probably was like from the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, no, like it was early metal era.
Yeah. Like, sometime in the late 80s, they basically rebooted their 40k lore into the whole like grim darkness, far future, etc., etc.
Well, in second edition is really where they started moving away from the Primarchs and moving to hero units that are not Primarchs. Like, that's when like the whole Eldar Phoenix Lord came about and things like that.
Ah, right. But basically, for the last pushing 30 years, if not slightly more, there's been this lore where you've got an entire game of basically terrible people. You've got, space elves who were so decadent they created a chaos god. You've got chaos itself, which is just like badness incarnate. You've got the Imperium of Man, who are humans who are just awful fascists.
Yep.
You've got orcs that are just like orcs and Tyranids, which are basically just all fighting, all consuming monsters. Like,
Robot skeletons.
yeah, you've got robot skeletons. You've got,
Nope. Nobody's good guys.
Yeah.
Not even close.
And then they brought back Robo Taguliman, who's like the Primarch of the Ultramarines.
He's like the Primarchiest Primarch.
Yeah, I mean, he's the Primarch of the Smurfs. Like,
The Ultramarines are the Space Marine chapter that are supposed to be the goody good guys.
Yeah, as much
And
as
this
they
is the
are.
guy
And
that
like,
founded them.
they've redefined that over the years to they're the ones that follow the rules the most.
Yeah.
And so the people who follow the rules the most get their person who wrote all the rules back. And it was sort of an interesting thing because the way they wrote it was, this guy gets back and his reaction is, what are you doing? This is not what it was supposed to be like at all. And that's an interesting angle to approach, like, these people who are demigod tier, legendary lore characters from a history that was slightly less dark than now, coming back and being like, hey, all of this stuff that you're doing is wrong.
Right. Like, I would imagine anyone who fought beside the Emperor would have this reaction.
Right.
Yeah, because they remember what things were like before everything went to hell.
But, like,
They know it can be better.
Well, they also
And they know
pre-exist
what they wanted this to happen.
Like, they predate the cult of personality that is the God Emperor.
Yeah. Like, to him, he was their dad, and he was a cool guy, but he wasn't a god.
I mean, he was the god, and he was expressly against worshiping gods. Like, you have to go really, really deep in the lore to find all of that. It was not their baseline. But you have to go pretty deep in the lore to see the, like, hey, the super fashy human empire, etc., isn't actually good. It's not how it's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this game is satire, and it's making a statement about things not going as planned. But possibly, thanks to current events, they've been a lot more explicit about that.
Well, and the weird thing is they used to be kind of explicit about that too. Because, like, if you go back to Rogue Trader, like, it talked about how the Emperor just wanted to die, but the cult encased him in the back to tank that is the Golden Throne to keep him alive.
Yeah.
Like, it was like the roots were back then. It just kind of went away. Like, they leaned into the
this stuff came from the same source, the same basic, ultimate source as, like, Judge Dredd. In both cases, like, this is not a good world that we're writing about. Like, this is heavily satire, but a lot of folks miss the point, and over time some of those folks end up, like, involved in creating the stuff, probably.
Right.
And yeah.
And it's been interesting because I picked up the Votan book, which is they brought Space Dwarves. They're really cool. Their rules are absolute garbage in 10th edition. We'll see what the Codex does. Sadness. But the lore is great for them. And the lore is they work hard because they live in some difficult places, but they're like a pretty egalitarian society. They openly embrace all of these different things. Like, the running joke in 40K is that every faction, regardless of how good they may look, every faction has, like, a crippling terrible flaw.
Mm-hmm.
The crippling terrible flaws of the Votan is they've got a lot of legacy code. And, like, we have several engineers in here. That's a severe problem.
Oh yes.
I mean, it's like,
not a moral problem.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, I occasionally watch the WAN show from Linus Tech Tips, and the other day they had an aging engineer on the show that really only knows COBOL, and was asking, like, Luke, who runs Floatplane, what technology he should go into, and Luke was like, maybe just keep running COBOL. Like, that is very in demand. Like, a lot of the world still runs on COBOL.
There's a lot of places that got their systems up and going when that was the hot new thing, and as long as those things keep working, why would they change?
I mean, probably if your bank is older than 30 years, it's running on COBOL still.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, like, I appreciate the legacy code problem.
Yeah, but it's interesting because it's like, yes, they have this problem, but it's not moral.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty stark departure.
Yes.
Because it means that they can be good guys in a way that, like, no other faction actually can be.
Well, and, like, Votan, for the most part, is a pre-heresy organization, right? Like, they draw the roots to that time.
Oh yeah, like, yeah, they're using old human tech. They have actual sentient AI that they work with. They've got, like, advanced human tech. And they're not ignorant of what's going on with humans. They're like, yeah, the book even goes multiple times into like, yeah, they play up how different they are from humans so that humans will just see them as Xenos because they don't want
That's better than being
humans to-
heretics.
yeah, they don't want humans to have to be like think they're need to be brought back in the fold or anything. They just don't want to deal with that. And so now there's a edition shift. Like 10th edition is happening. They're launching a bunch of lore, and as with most of their new edition shifts, they end them with like a big series of lore events. This time around, the big lore event is the lion is back. Like Primarch of the Dark Angels, the like one of the most iconic Space Marine factions, who have again for like 30 years had this whole story where back at the end of back in the history, they split they split down the middle because there was some of them betrayed the others. It wasn't totally clear who betrayed who, but the the Lions like second in command basically betrayed the Lion and took a bunch of the people with them, and then their planet got blown up. They're both like missing, and all of the betrayer side got scattered across the galaxy and are the Fallen. So the Lion is back, and the first people he finds are the Fallen, and he puts together a group of them who he directly forgives for any misunderstandings / apologizes for the misunderstanding in the first place. And then is like, hey, y'all are gonna come help me bring the rest of them back into the fold.
So now there's a Dark Angel Civil War at hand.
I mean, I don't think so, because who's gonna fight? You've got the Lion and the formerly fallen, now risen, and the Dark Angels are gonna fight the Lion. Like, that's not gonna happen.
That seems unlikely.
And it was sort of interesting because, like, this was the faction that had interrogator chaplains, because their whole thing was they go and find the Fallen and extract a confession, etc. None of those units are in the new rules. They're all gone. So like they're like fundamentally changing the core story behind one of the most iconic factions in the game. And incidentally, there's only two pieces of writing that have much of the Lion in them, and in both of them both of them are the same thing that Guilliman had, except amped way up, because Guilliman was a diplomat. The Lion is not. He openly snubs the like imperial cult and openly tells people that the emperor is not a god and that they shouldn't worship him as such. And like it was interesting enough that I actually picked up one of their books for the first time ever. And I mean, if there's a civil war, I think it's an Imperium of Man civil war that they're setting up for.
I could see that, like, ultimately. Yeah.
That are like, yeah, it's like Space Marines. It's like Space Marines under their returned Primarchs, who all agree that this isn't how it was supposed to be, trying to right things. And for a game that's been so afraid to change anything about its setting, including that there can be good guys, Votan and now the Lion and the Lion is straight up horrified that people are mistreated in the Imperium, and he tends to express his horror very pointedly, which that's a weird thing to see. Like, are we on the cusp of like a completely new piece of like set of lore for this game?
Like, it would be interesting if at some point in the near future, like, the Imperium as it currently stands ceased to exist, replaced by something better.
Yeah, like
I don't know how they would, get from here to there, but yeah.
But I think it would be a flat improvement to the setting.
Yeah.
it's really, really interesting. Like, mostly just because when you see something that's narratively been stuck like that for so long, it so rarely changes. And like, these are the kinds of things that I've been reading about the lion since I was 8. Like, it's one of the few 40K stories I actually know in some amount of detail. And like, I picked up the mini and the book mostly to appease my inner 8-year-old who would have devoured them. And then I was surprised to find that it was like actually good and thoughtful and like has some fairly interesting things to say, like meta things to say about 40K as a setting.
It would be interesting to have like a Civil War event surrounding, the Ultramarines and the Dark Angels and any other chapters that will align with them, basically waking up their Primarchs as well.
Yeah. There's also some really good moments, like the lion feeling lonely. Like a lot of it, very little of the book I read actually talks about him fighting, because that's pretty boring. It's like the lion fights and he wins. That's how that works. It's a lot of him being like, wow, I'm old and lonely because there's like nobody else in this universe like me who has any touch points with me. And like there's a point where he's like, man, basically, man, I miss Lehman Russ. I want to punch that guy in the face. I miss his stupid punchable face so much. And runs into Dante from the Blood Angels, who has this like golden mask. It's kind of his thing.
Yep.
And like almost flies into a rage because he's like, "Who are you, and how dare you wear the face of my brother?" And like that's the thing where the Blood Angels are like, "Yep, he's legit." Like that's his first reaction. Yes, this is a legit Primarch. It's I really want to see where they go with some of these, because they really seem to be trying to make. I thought that they were going to abandon all of this because the Ultramarines Guilliman thing was in 8th edition, and then the only like big lore thing they did in 9th edition was, oh no, big chaos happens and now the galaxy is split in two.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, well, that's bad, but doesn't seem to do very much of anything. But now they're like, basically like the lion's on the far side of that. And a lot of the stuff is portraying like, hey, actually, now that the Imperium doesn't have direct control out here, a bunch of stuff is kind of getting better. It's like hard, but it's better.
If I remember correctly, the RPG Wrath and Glory is also set on the far side of that.
I mean, they might just do that. They might just move their focus to that area that is disconnected from the actual Imperium. Like that would be a way to move forward and have something different without having to deal with like how would this actually work, this giant machine falling apart.
I mean, they could use this also to cut ties with the more problematic Imperial elements.
It's true.
Yeah.
Maybe they should stop focusing on the Imperial units that are just literal Nazis.
Might be a good idea.
They sure have been aggressively editing those parts of the game, which, good. But also, I never thought I'd see it happen.
But the divide in the galaxy also like sets up, there could be a side of the galaxy that is just run by the Primarchs.
Yeah.
I just like the idea of being able to play like actually good guys.
I mean, on the Space Marine side, the Smurfs were always the closest that we had to that from Space Marines, because like they're mostly just off killing Tyranids
and
something salamanders.
Yeah.
But like even those aren't great.
No, I mean
they're doing their best at least.
Yeah.
Like they're still in service to the Empire of Man, and that's that's not a good look. But I'm just interested to see like the things are actually progressing, like change is happening in the 40K universe. It's interesting.
It really is. It's just such a thing that hasn't. It's like almost the setting known for not changing.
I would love to see a more pacifistic orc faction.
I don't think they're ever not going to be football hooligans.
I mean, maybe if they're not all hyped up on the WOG, they can do interesting things.
That's another thing that comes up a bit in the RPG because Orc is totally a playable character you can be.
Mhm.
Why wouldn't it be? So yeah, they did some writing on that too. Kojer's not here, but I believe he said he knew what one of the writers for that, and they ran several 40K LARPs at conventions, so they already had a pretty good idea at how to write the various factions in such a way that they sort of make sense together, but also they don't really have to.
I always like Bad Moon the most just because I liked their color scheme. Fallout 76 new season.
Yep. It's there's not a lot of new content, it doesn't seem like, but there's a new season. It's Hollywood themed for the board. You can get rewards that look like Oscars and things. And there's 2 new cryptids, which is I think the most interesting part of it. There's the Blue Devil, which is, basically like a wolf cryptid, and there's the Ogwa, aka the Monongahela River Monster, which is a giant snapping turtle, and it's awesome. I do not know if the cryptids show up outside of the new events that they added or not, but they're pretty neat. And
I would feel bad taking down a giant turtle, though.
yeah, I mean, he wants to bite you.
Okay.
Maybe make him not bite you. But yeah, so if you play Fallout 76 and haven't been recently, there's a new season, so new stuff to get. It's fun. And I just love that no matter how many cryptids they add to the game, there's always new West Virginia cryptids that they can add to this game.
Oh, yeah,
because
absolutely.
West Virginia is just full
There's so
of
many.
cryptids.
Well, and it's also kind of a melting pot of a bunch of other areas cryptids too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think we got one of those too.
Weird countryside out there.
Next Fest is also going on currently. So if you want to play games and don't have anything you want to play, there's a bunch of demos available.
There's so many demos.
It's weird how
so
this
many
has
demos.
grown every single year.
Yeah, there's an extra credits video from several years ago now about why demos don't exist anymore. And it's weird to see that in some senses that's becoming less true again. Like we're starting to
Yeah.
get demos for things.
It's so weird. Like I know why we stopped getting demos, and
I
yet
was gonna say, yeah, all of those things made sense, and yet here we are.
I think it's yet another extension of the nobody wants to pay money for
Well,
video games.
Okay, so I think it's partially that, but it's also that it is getting harder and harder to differentiate your game from every other game that's currently available.
I mean, there are so many games.
Yeah.
So maybe like having a demo where I can just, grab it and try it out. Like maybe that'll be the one little the extra step that'll, pop it up to the top of my list.
I mean,
Or even
anything that
make
you
me
can
realize it
do
exists.
to lower the friction point of like, there is a game out, I have heard of this thing, I can just try it. Like I tried Lies of P the other day after Jeff Keighley's Magical Mystery Tour or whatever the hell he calls it. And it was fine. Like it's definitely a good, Dark Soulsy type game. And it allowed me to quickly determine that this probably won't be for me. But it also probably had the other effect with a lot of people where like, oh no, this is really, really a good Soulsian game.
Speaking of demos, Little Kitty Big City has a demo out.
I don't know that I'll actually play the demo because I know I'm going to play it when it comes out.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Like, I really want to try it, but also I know I'm gonna buy it and play it either way.
Yeah, I don't need them to sell me on this game.
Oh
anymore
yeah,
than-
like
than
I've been
the
sold
video
for a
already
couple
did.
years now.
Yeah.
Like the trailer was sufficient.
If it has been described to me as what happens if Untitled Goose Game meets Stray.
Right,
and-
right. Like
Yeah,
you're
right.
actually playing a lovable character this time.
Okay, now I'm curious, of the previous games, which one do you think isn't the lovable character?
The goose.
The
'Cause
terrible,
I love
horrible
that
goose.
That goose is great.
I
No,
was gonna say,
the goose is hilarious, but all geese are awful.
Geese are
Yeah.
terrible by definition.
Like I can root for the goose, but geese are horrible.
Also, I can put hats on the kitty. I can't put hats on the goose.
Yeah,
fair,
that's
you can
that's
wear
immediately a big plus.
And hey, if I don't have to watch the kitty die horribly over and over
Yes.
again, I might actually finish this one.
oh yeah.
And it's a lovable void cat.
So cute.
games that have demos that I'm already aware of. Spirit Swap, Lo-Fi Beats. What is it?
Lo-Fi Beats to Match 3.
Lo-Fi Chill Beats to Match 3
Yep.
too.
I played
As a
some of
demo.
that.
I already knew that one existed. I already have
I-
that one on. Like, I was the Kickstarter for that.
Yeah, I
It's
kickstarted that.
whatever.
I like Tetris Attack. It's great.
Exactly. Sea of Stars is an RPG. I don't particularly need to play this particular demo. I want to buy this when it comes out.
Kingdom 80s.
That one I didn't know about.
Oh my god, it looks great. Like, have you played Kingdom?
I don't think I have.
Okay, so Kingdom is it's like a...
Okay, I'm familiar with Kingdom.
Okay, you're familiar with Kingdom.
I
This
did
is
not know Kingdom 80s was a thing. What?
Yeah. It's a standalone expansion to the award-winning Kingdom series.
Wait. Hammerwatch 2?
Yeah, it was announced a little while ago. Yeah. Not Heroes of Hammerwatch. Hammerwatch 2.
Yep.
I mean, I think I liked Hammerwatch better than I liked Heroes of Hammerwatch.
Reasonable.
I kind of did too, although it's brutal. The sequel has difficulties.
Okay.
So we'll see if it's less brutal.
I'm excited that Ghost Trick is coming to platforms where people will actually play it.
Yes.
Because that game was great. That game was great and released at the wrong time in the wrong place.
It launched as a DS game, and I believe people played it on the DS. Like, enough people played it on the DS. It later launched on mobile, and it was like something about 32, 64-bit, whatever timing. It did terribly on mobile.
Yeah.
And you can't buy it anymore.
God, there are so many games in Next Fest.
Yes, there are.
Like, I am just keep going page after page.
Yes, there are.
Games I'm going to play that are definitely going to hurt me. Venba. It's a narrative cooking game where you play as an Indian mom immigrating to Canada with her family in the 80s.
All right.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
There's no way that game is not coming packed in with feelings.
Absolutely.
I really want Unpacking too. I don't think anybody's actually said that's happening, but I want it to happen. I want to will it to into existence.
That needs to happen. Like I've just recently replayed Unpacking just because it's a really good game
It is.
and very cute.
Okay, Ratopia looks adorable. It is a side-scrolling city builder.
Narrative puzzle game where you play as Jules Verne.
Why is this game in Next Fest? This game exists already. Might and Magic Clash of Heroes is a puzzle RPG that is very good, but already came out on PC years ago.
Yeah. Huh.
Maybe this is a re-release or
I mean, it's definitive edition, but I don't know why.
The game that I know I want, and I'm gonna get it. I should just play the demo, but Starship Simulator.
What sort of level of simulator are we talking for this one?
Well, the logo behind the name Starship Simulator is a very slightly altered version of the United Federation of Planets logo, and you're flying a Magellan-class deep space starship. So,
okay, it's that sort of simulator. I didn't know if we were talking like Goat Simulator or like Truck Simulator.
Yeah, this is like players and the NPC crew alike will need to perform role-specific tasks, online, single player or online co-op. Press buttons on the ship to make things happen, etc.
This is like a non-VR version of Bridge Crew.
Yes.
Sort of.
And a non-licensed version.
I mean, yes, also that.
I don't necessarily think, like, the place where I know that this is just going to be a disaster is where they're talking about the, like, the high double-digit number of miles of cables that they've simulated in this thing.
Oh, that's going to go horribly wrong.
Okay.
Yeah, like it's important to know what angle this is being approached from, but also...
So, like, yeah, this is coming from the same sort of heads as people who make, like, Farming Simulator.
Mm-hmm.
All those types of we must get it exactly right type things.
Yes.
Except for starships.
Yes.
That's kind of amazing, honestly.
Yeah, like, I'm into it. Like, I would be into Truck Simulator if it were in space. I play Star Citizen.
Their sound designer apparently worked on Elite Dangerous.
There's lots of different crew roles, and in addition to the obvious ones, you could be Guinan.
Yeah, you could be the bartender in the bar. I don't know. Sure. Who even is the, like, Next Fest backbone? Like, who?
Valve.
Yeah,
Oh,
Valve.
Oh, so
It's
this
just-
is Valve. This
Yeah.
is Valve trying to fix the Steam problem.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
a thing, yeah.
But this is like, I think, the third year, maybe?
I don't think I'd heard about it, or like it hadn't really pierced into my cognition until this year.
Like, the first one kind of just shadow dropped as a thing that was on the front page. And oh, hey, here's like a dozen games that you can test drive for this week.
Also, for the first one, like almost all those demos went away after that
Yeah.
week,
Yeah, they did.
which did not happen to the following one.
Yeah, they got rid of the FOMO element.
Scrolling through it has some just absolutely pristine names of games. Space Cats Tactics.
Look, I'm partial to the Paisarazzi, where you take photos of fish.
I mean,
Alright.
that's incredible. Like, these are incredible.
I also saw something that looked like Stardew Valley, but you're a cat.
Yeah, that's infinitely better already.
Stardew Valley also already has a furry mode.
But is that anthropomorphic animals or just animals?
It's the former, but I wouldn't be surprised if both exist.
Yeah, here we go. Cattails, Wildwood Story. Be a cat.
So yeah, it's a great way to just see a tiny snippet of a whole bunch of different things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we talked about the loss of E3, but like, really, the industrial complex that has sprung up to replace it, I think, is so much cooler. Like, there's a bunch of different nuanced events that happen during this general time, and I think it probably serves more players in general, and also maybe introduces people to games that they wouldn't have found otherwise, because discovery is hard.
I mean, almost none of these games that we talked about today are going to be in Nintendo Direct.
Right.
I mean,
right.
like, well, maybe they'll be in Nintendo Direct only because they highlight indie specifically sometimes. But like, most of these are not going to be in front of that many people.
And there's definitely a lot of trying to, like, I get it. Like, there's definitely a lot of trying to fix the fact that anybody can put their game on Steam. And I do not envy marketing teams trying to get literally anybody to know about your game. Like, even if your game is coming from a top tier publisher.
Like, I'm on a bunch of mailing lists, right? So I literally get reached out to on a weekly basis about somewhere between 50 to 100 different smaller games trying to hype me up about them. And like, it's just a lot. I rarely ever engage with it. And this is people trying to give me free copies of games. And like, it's got to be maddening to try and get any kind of traction for an indie game.
Oh yeah, like,
yeah. I mean, you basically gotta hope you get lucky and some streamer like plays your game and it takes off.
I think I'd have to check the numbers again, but the last time I looked, it was getting close to, for every one Stardew Valley, there are 10,000 games that nobody's ever heard of.
I believe it.
And that's rough. Because they're not, like, it's not like they're all bad games. It's just...
But no, you can't know.
They're just
know.
buried in a pile of bad games.
Well, and one of the favorite things that ever happens with our podcast is when some random indie dev finds our episode about a game that we're talking about that they made, and like seems super happy that anyone is giving it attention. And like, I love that this is a thing that happens, but also like, I can't purposefully do this thing because I only have so much bandwidth in a given week.
Right. Like, even if I wanted to, which I wouldn't, if I had infinite time, I wouldn't mind doing. Like, even if we said like, oh, hey, if you listen to the podcast and you think you've got a game that we would like, no, I'm not going to say that because there's probably 500 billion of them and we just don't have time.
Yeah.
Like, I already have people trying to cram them in my hands via my email.
But yeah, because like I remember how happy the dev of Cloudpunk seemed. When
Yeah,
made that.
exactly.
Like that was really cool.
Which we need to give a shot again too, because they've updated a ton.
Ooh, need to go back and play some more then.
Yeah, it was fun.
So I know I talked about this last week, but Grace wasn't on the show. Grace, Spriggan is nonsense.
It's so fun.
It's just so freaking good.
It's so chill. I think that's what I appreciate about
Yeah.
it. Like I enjoy my necro and running around with my swarm of horrible children. They're great, but it requires constant attention or I will die a lot.
Yeah.
And Spriggan is sort of the opposite of that. Like I have a bunch of plants. I like plants. And also I will never, unless I get one shot, I will never die.
Well, like, I feel like I'm basically orchestrating the plants in Plants vs. Zombies. And I'm just running around and dropping my totems everywhere. And it's not the fastest gameplay in the world, but I've also just kind of steamrolled the monoliths and am getting very close to empowered monoliths.
I have had boss trouble with it because it lacks a movement skill and therefore can get one shot by stuff you have to move out of.
Yeah, it took me a little while to get used to that, but now I sort of appreciate it because I understand the mechanics of all of the boss fights
Right.
much better than I did when I was playing by Necro and I could just pop out of things very easily.
Well, and okay, so the problem with bosses versus Echo gameplay, in Echoes, I can basically just ignore mechanics. In bosses, I can't.
My first death was actually an Echo because I stood in a bunch of fire that did actually kill me. Once I didn't fail because I'd already killed everything on screen, but I was standing in the fire, my totems had gone away, and I died. It was kind of surprising. I didn't realize dot damage in that game was quite that high.
It can be. Maybe someday, because I am playing a druid, I'll finally get my stupid squirrel hat.
Can dream. I'm honestly surprised you don't have it already at this point.
Yeah, no, I've never seen an actual Aaron's Will drop either. I just got the one that I chanced my way into.
That one I have seen. I think I have seen that one drop twice now, but I still haven't seen the squirrel hat either.
I've not seen the Raven gloves drop.
No, I haven't seen those either. I think it is a frustration with Last Epoch that there are some items that there's not 100% build defining. I don't, because the most of the gear in that game isn't quite that way, but there's certainly a huge boost.
Tears of the Forest can definitely make some builds.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I've got like 4 of them in the bank. So like it was easy for me to get a Tears of the Forest. I
haven't seen a single one. I've only been playing druids pretty much.
I've only seen the one.
I've never seen that shield, and I forget the name of it. The one that every build seems to want.
Bastion of Honor.
Bastion of Honor, yeah. And like that's supposedly a pretty low level drop. It's
But it's
just
also
really
rare.
rare. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen the polar bear chest either. Nope, I would like to see that at some point.
Yeah, I wish
That's not a low level drop.
wish some of the rare drops were just a little less rare, because it's not like I haven't put in some decent time. And you know, with the crafting and everything else, the way it works, like it's standard ARPG fare. You're not gonna get a perfect one when it drops. So I wish it was just a hair less stingy with those.
I watched the recap of the dev chat from Friday, and I guess they're working on some sort of a loot goblin mechanic. Maybe that will be a way
Sweet.
for us to get like a wider pool of uniques.
Yeah, I know they've been talking about adding more sort of events or things to make running Endless Monolith a little less boring. So I'm super excited about that. I don't know, I've appreciated all the updates and the recent ones. Now I can run around with a cute pet instead of the weird, horrible one that came with my version of the game.
Yeah, I would really like them to, at some point, loop back around and work on the models a little bit. because when I am not in tree form, I look like some wild man that's come to clean your pool.
They have worked on the models, definitely. Like
They
Werebear got cleaned up not too long ago. Summon Wolf and Summon Bear both got severely improved.
Yeah, I'm
Paper form
talking.
got a big boost.
Yeah, I'm talking about the human models. They're
Yes,
kind
well,
of rough.
We tried playing not a wild man from the forest.
I mean, the Sentinel's equally bad.
I never see my Sentinel's actual model because most of the helmets are face covering.
Yeah, but like it's the gigantic thighs that bother me on the Sentinel.
The Druid's really the only one with the pool skimmer, though.
It's amazing though. The Sentinel has the toilet brush. It's like a mace, but it looks like a toilet brush. Like I think over time they will improve it. But yeah, no, I'm very happy to be a plant person instead of the wild man for right now. Anyway, any last thoughts about anything?
I've been catching up on about a year and a half worth of story of Genshin Impact, and it's surprisingly decent, making me feel feelings. Was not expecting that from that game. Pretty pleased.
Yeah, I continue to play a lot of Honkai Star Rail. It is still really good, but it's like I'm kind of only playing down the daily stuff every day.
I'm trying to catch up on story stuff, and I have been playing for a couple weeks now in Genshin, and am still not close to being done just with the main story, which is good. Like, game has
They've added a lot.
grown so much from where it started, and I think that's great.
But I get the impression that they've also greatly increased the cadence of releases.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot more events and things. There's pretty much always at least one or two from what I can see, which is nice. And, a far cry from the early days where everything required the daily currency to do. Now all the special events and things you can do to your heart's content, and it doesn't interfere with, the currency that you need to try to win things that will actually upgrade your character.
That's been the thing that I have been pleased at, is in talking to you and what you're experiencing and what Honkai Star Rail is like so far. They've definitely gotten more generous. Like I do not feel like I ever need to buy any pull currency because I'm getting tons of it naturally.
You guys are giving me hope that it might actually like Zenless Zone Zero when it comes out.
Yeah, like I mean, if what has happened to these two games is evident at all, then yeah, like they seem to give you a lot of opportunities to save up a bunch of 10 pulls by the time the next banner comes out.
Mm-hmm. It's probably still best to like pick a character to save for and not try to get all of them on their first banner when they come around. But yeah.
Yeah, I do not like Coffin Man at all, but like I'm gonna have to try for him because like I really need a second healer.
Well, maybe you'll lose your 50-50 and you'll get Bailu, and she's adorable.
I would be fine with Bailu. Like,
yeah.
If Bailu was available on a banner, I would far rather pull for Bailu.
Well, I'm pretty sure she's on the standard one, but yeah,
right.
Still,
like
you gotta
not a rate up character.
Yeah. No, she probably won't be since she is on the standard. But I mean, if you do 300 pulls on the standard banner, you can just pick her.
So, oh, really? They've got
100.
Yeah, they have a thing where if you do 300 pulls on the standard banner, you get to pick one of the like 6 5-stars that are on the standard banner.
Man,
it seems like a large number.
Yeah, but like I wonder if the discount pulls that you get at the beginning count towards that.
Are the ones that like the free ones they gave us, or the ones you get on the monthly?
No, there were
shot?
So there were the ones
the beginners.
Yeah, the ones that you basically like you got a 10 pull for 8.
Yeah, no, that's treated as its own banner. So sadly, there is you can find out how many pulls you've done on the standard banner. I forget where that button is, but there is one on the banner, so you can see where you're at.
Yeah, but I haven't been using the standard banner because usually the standard banner is a trap.
Well, if you're, doing your simulated universe and stuff, you're getting at least like one standard banner ticket a week.
Yeah.
It'll just take a while.
Well, that's been when I usually pull on the standard banner is when I have 10 of the gray tickets instead of the gold tickets.
I gotcha. It is usually more exciting doing a 10 pull than just a single.
Anyway, I guess hopefully everybody enjoyed the show. We'll be back next week, and hopefully we'll see you then. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
See you.